With the release of the newest Scream movie, I figured it would be the perfect time to stop and rank all 5 Scream movies from worst to best. Let's do this. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Ben, and on this channel I love to talk about movies and TV, and if you also love to talk about movies and TV, or just love to be on the ride with me, consider hitting that like and subscribe button. For a little bit of context, I love the original Scream movie. It's honestly one of my favorite movies of all time, and the rest of this franchise is such a fun time. So ranking these movies, I do enjoy a lot of them. There is one that I don't necessarily love, but for the most part, these are solid movies. Before we get into it, make sure to let me know down below what is your ranking of all 5 Scream movies. I would love to hear it. I will be talking about spoilers in this video, just a heads up. And let's get started. Coming in last place is Scream 3. This is the one that I was talking about when I said I don't really love this movie. It was hard to get through at times. The biggest problem with this movie is that it feels like there's a big disconnect. It feels like the odd one out when looking at all the Scream movies. That's probably due to the new screenwriter who is filling in for Kevin Williamson, who was one of the biggest and best aspects of the 2 prior films, was his writing. With Kevin Williamson gone in this movie, Ehren Kruger had some big shoes to fill writing this movie, and unfortunately, he just didn't do all that great of a job. Another one of my biggest problems with this movie is all the stuff with Sidney's mom being a ghost. I hated that. I was really hoping it would just be like in one scene and I could just gloss over it, but no, it kept coming back, and I was like, why are we still doing this? And then you get to some of the acting in this movie. Yikes. Honestly, it felt like a fake movie at times. I was like, are they just reading something off a piece of paper? That's what it felt like. David Arquette specifically, who I don't want to trash on too much, but he's a mess here. A mess in the fact that his performance just is not that good. I will say the idea of having Ghostface use this device that has a multiple voice change option is very clever, and I dig it. It's also well used here. I also like Sidney doing what Laurie Strode did in Halloween 2018, where she totally disconnects herself from society, except now looking at it, Scream 3 did that first, so. And then when you get to the reveal at the end, I found it to be totally obvious. Scott Foley being revealed as the killer was obvious because he was the only one not in the scene. I was like, it's definitely him. He disappeared for 20 minutes. This is also the only time in the franchise where we have one Ghostface killer. Every other movie has 2 Ghostface killers. I think it's changing it up a notch. Doesn't really matter to me. The reveal didn't necessarily bother me. I really didn't mind it all that much, but it just didn't stand out. And it's because of all these reasons that this is easily the weakest of the bunch. Coming in at number 4 is Scream 2. Now this is when all the meta stuff starts kicking in. It starts being very self-aware and it starts making fun of itself. This was the start of the Stab franchise. I thought the opening scene was kind of lame, but the biggest problem about this movie is it just has a big tendency to just meander. The middle chunk of the movie is pretty boring. I'll say some of the lines of dialogue in this movie are completely cringe. I was laughing so bad. The best part about that movie is the radio broadcast scene where Courtney Cox is trying to run from Ghostface. It's the most intense part of the movie, and it's the most memorable part of the movie. And then when you get to the twist at the end, I think both Timothy Olyphant and Laurie Metcalf are great as the crazed psychos. I didn't see it coming either, so that's a plus. With it being Miss Loomis, it's a little far-fetched. Kind of have to just avoid over some plot holes, but I don't mind it necessarily. I was actually scared for a good majority of this movie because I was like, this is not something that I'm going to like at the end of the day. But it had a rocky start, I'll definitely say that. But it ended up picking itself back up in the second and third act. So I was enjoyed enough by this movie, though it kind of let me down. Coming in third place is Scream 4, sorry. I love the opening scene with Stab 6. This one totally ups the meta-ness. It's honestly genius how the scene is a movie inside of a movie inside of another movie. This one completely upping the campiness as well. They were like, you thought we were campy? Let's go for more. And speaking of meta, Gale actually makes fun of them as characters being meta, and Dewey's like, what is that? The entire ensemble here is fantastic. We obviously have the familiar faces, but we have the new faces. Emma Roberts, Hayden Panettiere. Those were the 2 standouts. The whole Gale and Dewey drama, though, drags the movie down for me, just work together. This one's funny too, which is a much needed part of this franchise. The kills were pretty clever as well. They tried changing it up a little bit, but where this movie falls off for me is the third act. It was not good. Jill's motivation for being the killer is her wanting attention? Don't like that. This movie just left me with a sour taste in my mouth, which is very unfortunate because I enjoyed it so much up until the third act. It goes on for 10 minutes after we find out who the Ghostface is, and it loses all momentum and the pacing just comes to a screeching halt after all the tension was broken with the reveal. So as you would assume, I was not a fan of the ending. But it's a nice return to the franchise, and I didn't hate it. But I'm so glad we got another movie to top it. Our runner-up is Scream 2022. If you want to hear my full thoughts on this movie, I'll leave my review linked right up above. But this movie is the most meta out of them all. Count how many times I've said meta in this video. Just like Scream 4, the new characters introduced are great. And seeing all our favorite faces was just so nice. Sure, I wish that the legacy characters got a little bit more screen time, but I get why I didn't want to take away the magic from the new characters. I didn't get to talk about this in my spoiler-free review, but when Dewey died, I was gutted. That was so emotional. And speaking of Dewey, David Arquette in this movie is very good. Like I mentioned, I was not a fan of his up until this movie. He won me over. And everyone behind this movie works off of what Wes Craven created just 25 years ago beautifully. They don't try to step over what he's done. This movie was dedicated to Wes Craven himself, and I think that he would have loved it. But coming in first place, the movie that was never going to be topped, Scream 1997. What this movie did for horror in general and revitalizing it is in and of itself incredible. The opening scene is iconic. Drew Barrymore, they literally put her on the poster of the movie. Having that big name on the poster brought in a lot of audiences just for her to be killed off within like the first 10 minutes. But this is just a movie making fun of a bunch of other horror movies, and that's what makes it work so well. None of the Scream movies have necessarily been all that scary, and I'm okay with that because if I have a horror movie that's fun and knows what it is, I'm okay if it's not so scary. And this one is very fun. The score here as well is incredible from Marco Beltrami. It's a big part of the scare factor. It eases up on you, and especially in the kill scenes, it gets very intense. But the cast has never been better than they are here. Courtney Cox, in particular, is superb. She excels at playing this perky bitch and doing anything that will help her job for the better. She has a really nice character arc, too, throughout the movie. It's not just a slasher, though. It really dives into the trauma of Sydney's past with her mom, and Sydney has depth to her character because of this, which then makes you care for her. And it's because of the strong foundation that was built by her character arc that makes you still care for her by Scream 2022. This movie just stands out though because it's so self-aware. It's unlike any horror movie you'll find. And then finally, when you get to the reveal, Ski Ulrich and Matthew Lillard are both brilliant as the confirmed psychopaths. Matthew Lillard though, he does not get enough credit here. He is stellar. And how can you not mention Roger Jackson as the classic Ghostface phone voice?
You like scary movies?
Uh-huh.
What's your favorite scary movie?
He is perfection. That was just perfect casting. He is creepy as hell. Imagine being known for the voice of Ghostface. That's pretty cool. Plus, this movie has a scene with like a Blockbuster-esque store. I would have given it first place just for that, and it's just a love letter to movie fans. Honestly, this might be the king of all slasher movies. But that is it. That is my ranking of all 5 Scream movies. Make sure to let me know down below what is your ranking of all 5 movies. I'd love to compare our list, and if you did enjoy this video, make sure to give it a like as well as consider subscribing and hitting that notification bell to get notified whenever new videos like this go live. As always, look forward to more videos coming soon. My name is Ben, people call me Meter, and I'll see you guys in the next one.